Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Fiza Jain. Now let's look at the top focus of the hour. Now the special cell of Delhi Police has released a list of some apps. Now these apps are sending data to China. They prey on those people who need loan of less money. Now these apps are downloaded on our phones, promising to give loans without interest, and then all the data is stolen and sent to China. Now citizens of China are also involved in these works. Now these are the names of the apps that have been confirmed of stealing data and sending the list to China. Now it's Raise Cash app, PP Money app, third is Rupees Master app, fourth is Cash Ray app, fifth is Mobi Pocket app, sixth is Papa Money app, seventh Infinity Cash app, eighth Credit Mango app, now Credit Marvel app, CB Loan app, Cash Advance app, HDB Loan app, Cash Tree app, and Raw Loan app. Now these all are the apps which are although guaranteeing you loans on lesser money but steal your data and send it to China. Now I have a senior economist Sharath Kohli on the broadcast with us. Thank you, Mr. Kohli, for joining us. And good morning, sir. Now my question to you is, how are these apps now telling people asking people who want loan at a lesser money and without interest are giving loans, and instead of giving loans, sending all the data to China? How is this all working?
Well, I think this has got multiple impacts. If you ask me, it is not just giving loans interest free, but they were charging exorbitant amount of interest. You know, people borrowing as little as 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, and they had to repay lakhs of rupees after. I mean, it was literally extortion. They were threatened. There were videos made. Their relatives were called. Their contacts from the phones were called. And they were embarrassed. They were shamed, in front of people. Abusive language was used. So I think this was clear extortion of money, and all this money was being sent, to China through Hawala and other means. I think it is a whole racket, and the worst part is that apart from the Chinese companies involved, I mean, the nexus has been directly found, or the origin has been found in Chinese companies, but I think more appalling is the fact that there were Indians involved as well, probably who were in the greed of money. They decided to rob their fellow citizens in the country, exploiting the situation that people needed smaller sums of money at different points of time, and this was an easy way of getting it. Just download an app, punch in your details, give your KYC documents, which were of course later misused. And as you rightly said, this data is being saved and imported in China. I mean, it is breach of privacy. It is breach of security as far as the country is concerned, because all this data is very much with China. And this is, let's not forget, this has come after the Chinese mobile phone companies like Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi. They have been found to be allegedly evading custom duty, evading income tax, getting into money laundering. I personally feel, I think the whole Chinese ethics of doing business is under question now, and this also leads to a point that how come China became world's factory, China attracted some of the world's finest and biggest businesses around the world, if this was the ethics they were working with. I think it raises a question mark on Chinese efficacy to do business around the world, and what was considered as cheap. I mean, anything which was Chinese was considered to be economical or cheap. After all, I mean, people are paying a lot of cost for the same, so it is not turning out to be inexpensive, not turning out to be, cheap for that matter. And I think it is a matter of concern, and Government of India, I think, will have to take a call sooner or later on what to do with the business being done with China. We should not forget we are doing about $135 billion of bilateral trade with China. So any extreme action taken on these Chinese companies may lead to affecting the bilateral trade, and we've got a $90 billion trade deficit with China. We are significantly dependent on China for not just electronics, but so many other stuff. So I think it's a catch-22 situation for the government, where action needs to be taken on these companies, But we should not forget that many of these Chinese companies have the Communist Party involvement in them. I mean, they are answerable to the Communist Party. So we don't know if these companies are actually private or they are an agenda of the Communist Party to probably go and exploit in another country to this. And it is indeed a matter of concern. It is giving some sleepless nights to the government agencies who are in a catch-22 situation, whether we should reconsider our relationship with China at all, Fiza.
Indeed, Mr. Kohli. Also, my question to you being, earlier we had seen few Chinese apps being banned in India. Do you think that banning is the solution of like probably non-stealing data from India by the Chinese companies?
Well, definitely around 300 such apps, between 250 to 300, shall I say, were banned earlier. And then, the problem with the apps is, Fiza, that these new apps keep cropping up because you ban an app and then somebody is genius enough to probably invent another app, and it is very hard to find the origin. They are uploaded on the Google platform, on the Android and on iOS. So it is. I'm sure. I mean, I think what should be done is that iOS, Apple, and Google Alphabet, shall I say, must take cognizance of this matter, and I think there should be a prevention from the platform itself. Android and Apple system should not allow such apps to be uploaded at the first point. But then sometimes it becomes very difficult for them to make out if this is a fraudulent app, or this is an app meant for extortion of money, or this is a genuine app. But I think the Indian IT authorities, Indian IT laws have to be made a little more strict. I think scanning of downloading of the app has to be done in the beginning itself. If it is found to be of Chinese origin, I think a thorough due diligence should be done to see if this app is genuine and what is this app all about. And I think RBI also came very hard on these because, as a matter of principle, nobody can get into lending business in India unless and until you've got an RBI registration. You have to be regulated by RBI. So how come these apps were in the business of lending money without being answerable to RBI and without RBI even knowing that these apps are lending money to people, which is basically illegitimate? So I think a 360-degree, I would say, investigation, a 360-degree kind of a restriction needs to be done on these kind of business. And once bitten, twice shy. I'm sure going forward after this is going to be a lesson for Indian authorities as well as to how to check. I'm sure, I mean, if somebody is, clever enough to invent an app, there are ways and means to check as well. The technology is supreme. You can always check. You can always check downloading of the apps. I think, and consumers, I would say, I think they have learned their lessons also. If somebody needs 5,000 rupees all of a sudden, or 10,000 rupees all of a sudden, I think the person must have learned the lesson that I learned of a case where a person borrowed 10,000 rupees, had to repay 2.5 lakhs. So I think they have learned their lesson the hard way. So when the consumers learn the lesson, when the platforms learn the lesson, when the government agencies learn the lesson, I think going forward we are going to see, hopefully, lesser and lesser of this crime being committed by the Chinese companies, Fiza.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable opinion. Now moving